Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Tuesday edition on my YouTube channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend of football. I hope you won your fantasy football leagues. I'm a little frustrated. If anybody remembers last week, I brought up that I have the second most points in one of my leagues and I haven't won a game yet. Well, guess what? I still have the second most points in a league and I'm 0-3. I just want to start off this episode really quick because I had somebody in my comments that mentioned like maybe I should just give up. I haven't won much this year yet. Don't ever give up. You never know how you can turn around a season. I've started the season in the hole so many times throughout my many years of playing fantasy football and climbed myself out of it. All you got to do is work the waivers. Injuries happen to other people's teams. Other people's teams start to fall off. Maybe guys are not consistent throughout the year. And all you got to do is just get into the big dance and you have a chance to win a lot of money. And plus, why would you hand an easy win to other people to win your money if you're going to miss? At least try to knock some people out of the playoffs, right? And before I really dive into the episode, I always tell this story every year. One of my best childhood friends, when we were in a fantasy league a long time ago, one of us started 0-4, one of us started 0-5. Well, guess what? We end up meeting in the championship game that year. So you never know when you can work yourself out of a hole and get into the playoffs and win a bunch of money for yourself. So don't ever give up. And that's a rule in life. Don't ever give up. Keep on pushing. So I guess I just came in with a little motivation today. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I got a good run in after work today. But why don't I just go ahead and get into this episode? You guys know what to expect. I'm not going to explain myself. If you're new, it's pretty easy to catch on. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my top waiver wire targets for week 4 as we are getting into the second, as we are wrapping up the first quarter of the NFL season. So let's go ahead and reveal my list. Again, these are per Yahoo. They had to have more than 50% availability in leagues. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my top quarterback out of the week, and that is Sam Darnold. He's available in 79% of the leagues right now. This past week against the Texans, he had the 304 passing yards, 8 rushes, 11 yards, and he had the 2 touchdowns. I kind of like the 8 rush attempts right there, so that's kind of given him a potential. I mean, he didn't really do much with it, but those 2 touchdowns were quarterback sneaks at the 1-yard line. But still, he looked to run the ball at least 6 other times outside the quarterback sneaks. So maybe he's got a floor. That's the thing with Sam. He's kind of got some mobility to him where he can scramble for first downs. And the reason why I listed him for a quarterback ad this week is because with Christian McCaffrey being out for at least 2 weeks, I think he's going to be able to work his way back within that 3-week time frame, since the plan is they're not going to place him on IR yet. So until CMC's out, that means more is going to be put on Sam Darnold's plate. That means he's going to be asked to do more and put this team in a winning position. So maybe they're going to use him with his mobility, like I mentioned, or he's at least going to have to produce through the air. This next week, he's got the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that Cowboys defense is getting a little better, but as we saw last night with Jalen Hurts, even if you start with a rough start to your game where you only have, you got like 2 interceptions in the first half, well, there's always garbage time potential against that Cowboys defense where you can get some points out of Sam Darnold. So if you're looking for maybe a streamable quarterback, Sam Darnold might be a sneaky play this week. And if he does have a great game against the Cowboys, maybe he can start working himself into a week in and week out starter in fantasy football. My running back out of the week is going to be Peyton Barber. 93% of the leagues he's available in. Talk about a thorn in my side, this guy. I'm gonna go ahead and go on my rant. As you guys know from my starts and sits last week, I said Josh Jacobs, or if Josh Jacobs gets ruled out, play Kenyon Drake. Well, I played Kenyon Drake in one of my leagues, and guess what? Peyton Barber got all the touches because Kenyon Drake made some mistakes early in the game with his pass protection. So John Gruden decided he was going to play the other veteran running back. It's a little annoying as a Drake owner because they paid Drake $13.5 million this offseason. You thought this would be the production you would get out of him, and they end up playing the guy that they picked up after getting cut from the Washington football team on like September 8th. But he was very effective with what he did against the Dolphins this past week. He had 23 rushes, 111 yards, a touchdown. He also had 3 receptions for 31 yards on 5 targets. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Like, if Josh Jacobs comes back, he's obsolete. He's not going to give you much value. But if you are a Josh Jacobs owner, I would do everything you can to get Peyton Barber, because at least you know if Josh is going to miss games. Like, I mean, that's his. I mean, as much as great as Josh Jacobs is, that's basically been his case for his pro career. He's going to miss games with little ticky-tack injuries. That's what I was warning people about Josh Jacobs back in the summer. So if he's out, you know, as of right now, I mean, it looks like Peyton Barber is going to be the guy that's getting all the touches out of the backfield. And if Josh Jacobs is out this week, they got the Chargers. The Chargers have been one of the worst defenses against the run so far this season. So Peyton Barber would be a decent play this week, as long as Josh Jacobs is ruled out. My wide receiver ad of the week, I'm going with Emmanuel Sanders. He's available in 74% of the leagues right now. This past week, he had 5 receptions for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. Now, I will say this. You want to see an uptick in targets if he's going to be like a week in and week out play. He's kind of a borderline wide receiver 3, but that offers you this type of upside when Josh is going to connect with him on deep plays, and especially when he's going to find him in the end zone. Now, he is 3rd in the pecking order in terms of that wide receiver room. You got Stephon Diggs, you got Cole Beasley, who's still getting anywhere. He had 13 targets this past week, and then you got Emmanuel Sanders. Now, the reason why I think Emmanuel Sanders is a good play, because he's going to be in a great offense that's going to push the ball through the air. They got some favorable matchups in the coming weeks, starting this week against the Houston Texans, and he's more of a bench ad, and he can fill in for those bye weeks. Because keep in mind, you got to start planning for your bye weeks. Those are going to start, I think, I don't think it's after this. It might be after this week. I forget when they start them, but it's going to start here in October, the bye week. So you got to start planning ahead. You got to start looking at your wide receiver bye weeks. And if you don't like who's on your bench, maybe go pick up Emmanuel Sanders, and he can be a nice fill-in guy for you during one of those times. My tight end ad of the week, you know, tight ends are a crapshoot. You know, I was talking to my buddy earlier, and unless you got one of the elite tight ends, you're basically gambling every week. But I think this one could be a potential sneaky play. Is Tyler Conklin, the Vikings tight end. He's available in 96% of the leagues. Now, prior back in the summer, before Irv Smith Jr. even got hurt, there was talks in camp that Tyler Conklin was going to have a role in this offense. Now, Irv Smith Jr. is obviously, his season's done. And there is still, like, I mean, KJ Osborne has been a pleasant surprise for that Vikings passing attack. But he didn't get a lot of targets this past week. So there's a potential where Tyler, if he could continue to see the 8 targets, let me go over his stat line. He had 7 receptions, 70 yards for a touchdown on 8 targets. You guys know I preach. If a tight end's going to see 8 targets, I want to gamble on that. Now, we want to see if he's going to get that week in and week out. But if he can get those 7 to 9 targets in that offense behind Thielen and Jefferson, I think he's like a tight end 2. Maybe that works his way to a borderline tight end 1. So he's at least a bench ad if you like to add a backup tight end, but he could be a sneaky play going forward if he's going to see that amount of targets every week. And they do got the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. And then to go ahead and wrap up my waiver wire targets this week, my flex ad of the week is going to be Tim Patrick. He is the Broncos wide receiver. He's been a very solid wide receiver 4 on that roster for the past couple of seasons. He's available in 78% of the leagues. This past week, he had 5 receptions for 98 yards on 5 targets. So he's very efficient with his targets that he just got. Now, just like Emmanuel Sanders, right? You want to see him get more targets to be a weekly starter, but as I mentioned, you got to start planning for your bye weeks. You got to start planning for injuries. So Tim Patrick, to me, is a really solid bench ad that could maybe work his way into like a wide receiver 3 if he sees an uptick in targets, because there is a chance he's going to see those uptick in targets, because KJ Hamler is done for the year. He tore his ACL, which sucks. I love KJ Hamler's speed on the open field. So KJ Hamler is done for the year. Jerry Jeudy is out to, I think he's still out for anywhere between, it's got to be like 4 to 6 weeks at this point until he might return. So you got a wide receiver that's going to be working opposite of Courtland Sutton. He's going to compete with Noah Fant for targets, but with KJ Hamler, like I said, being out, maybe he can get 2 more. They got the Ravens this week, so it's a little bit tougher of a defense, but that defense is a little bit banged up, especially in the secondary right now. So he could be a sneaky play if you need him. But like I said, I view him like Emmanuel Sanders, right? He's a good play if you need somebody to fill in for your bye weeks, and I think you can go ahead and pick him up and maybe start playing him this week. I mean, I know I'm trying to in a couple of my leagues. So those are my top waiver wire ads. Quarterback Sam Darnold, running back Peyton Barber, wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, my tight end is Tyler Conklin, and my flex ad of the week is Tim Patrick. Fitzpatrick. So let's go ahead and move on to my top 5 streamable defenses. Same thing per Yahoo, they have to have more than 50% available in leagues on that platform. I feel more confident about my streaming defenses, not just because of who I chose this week, just because I felt like I was pretty solid on the list I gave out last week. My first 2 weeks, I kind of had stumbled on my feet out of the gates and picking my streamable defenses, but I'll look and see if I can carry that momentum from my past defenses that I suggested from week 3 into week 4. So here's the top 5 streamable defenses. My number 1 is it's going to be pretty easy. Titans against the Jets. Titans are available in 83% of the leagues. They're going against that Jets offense, which is just so rough to watch right now. Their offensive line struggling. They're failing to get any sustainable rushing attack going. Zach Wilson is just going through some strong rookie pains right now. He's got back-to-back games with multiple interceptions. And then there's just nothing that should scare the Titans defense. And the Titans defense is very solid up front with Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry coming off the side. They got Rashaan Evans. They got some young secondaries, but this is a different thing, but I'm a big scouting guy. But one of my cornerback 2 from his class, Christian Fulton's having a very good start to year 2, so I'm happy to see that. So they got a defense where this can create sacks and create turnovers, so the Titans are my number 1 streamable defense for week 4. My number 2 streamable defense, I'm actually going to go with the Bears against the Lions. The Bears are available in 70% of the leagues. Jared Goff is just, he's just turning the ball over. I mean, it's pretty easy why I'm picking them. At that point, you can just gamble on it. The Lions offense, again, all they got is DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams and TJ Hawkins, and that's really going to scare a team. So I think this could be a nice little matchup where you could play the Bears defense. I could see Khalil Mack coming off that edge at least 2 or 3 times and lighten up Jared Goff, and what that ends up turning over is a fumble and for maybe a return touchdown. So I think I'm betting on the strong defensive front of the Bears to harass Goff all throughout the day. That will lead to sacks and those potential turnovers. So I got the Bears as my number 2 streamable defense for week 4. My number 3 makes a back-to-back week appearance. They were my number 5 defense last week against the Steelers. It turns out I was pretty right on that one with the turnovers they did, and they held the Steelers to those 10 points. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can carry that over. They are playing this Thursday night now, so if you're gonna get them, you need to make sure you get them before Thursday night and insert them in your lineup. But the Bengals are playing the Jaguars at home Thursday night football. So you got the Jaguars coming off a short week. Trevor Lawrence, I still believe in him as a talent. For every great throw he makes every game, he has like 2 or 3 very dumb rookie mistakes, and those are leading to turnovers, and somehow those are leading to like pick sixes. So you got a rookie quarterback on the road on a short week that's going to be facing a very underrated defense right now with a strong defensive front that can harass him and get after him and force him to early decisions, force early pressure on him, and maybe those turnovers that he has been dealing with to play his start to his rookie year do continue. So I like the Bengals defense as a streamable defense once again this week. They're available in 94% of the leagues, but it does appear that some people were listening to me last week, because it was like 99% last week. So maybe some of you guys did pick them up and play them. My number 4 streamable defense, I got the Saints against the Giants. The Saints are only available in 51% of the leagues right now. The Saints are playing at home. Now here's the little caveat. Since Hurricane Ida, they have not been home in New Orleans. They returned this week. They're playing in the Superdome. So that crowd that's typically crazy, they're going to be even crazier for the first, not only home game of the season past the hurricane, but since really COVID and stuff, for like a year and a half at this point, probably, since the Superdome has been full of fans. So you add the fan element into it, you add the Giants, offensive line is struggling, you got the potential that Daniel Jones is going to fumble the ball for turnovers. The Saints defense is coming off a very impressive performance up in Foxborough, where they picked off Mac Jones for 3 times, including one that went for a pick 6. So I could see sacks happen, I could see turnovers happening, and like I said, I like the home factor in there for their first game of the season in front of their fans. So I'd like to play off that emotion from that Saints D. So I think the Saints defense would be a good pickup if they're available in your league. And then my number 5 defense, They've been a letdown for me as a fan, but I got them on here. The Colts defense, they're available in 59% of the leagues against the Dolphins. The Dolphins, their offensive line is awful. So if there's anything for this Colts defense to play like the Colts defense that myself and most people thought they could play like this year, it would be against the Dolphins. They don't really have much of a rushing attack that should scare the Colts. The Colts defense up front with DeForest Buckner should be able to eat up that interior of the line and get pressure on their former quarterback. That's another point I want to make. They are going against Jacoby Brissett. Now, there's two ways I'm thinking of this right now that this could go. You know, they know Jacoby Brissett. They got the scouting report on him. They saw him in practice for the past, 2 or 3 years at this point. So they know what to expect and his weaknesses and how they can game plan against them. Now, there is that little fear. Hey, guess what? Jacoby also knows what he can expect out of the defense. But I'm going to take the gamble on the Colts. I think they're going to be able to get after Jacoby. I think they know how to limit him and how to game plan for him. I don't like that offensive front for the Miami Dolphins right now, so I think they're going to finally break through and start to get some sacks. And we saw last week too, the Colts forced 3 turnovers on defense, so they're starting to somewhat come along on that end. And I think I would be able to take a chance on them if I were to miss out on those top 4 defenses in my league. So again, top 5 streamable defenses this week: the Titans against the Jets, the Bears against the Lions, the Bengals against the Jaguars, the Saints versus the Giants, and the Colts versus the Dolphins. So yeah, that's my Tuesday video, my top waiver wires and streamable defenses for Week 4 in fantasy football. I hope you guys did enjoy it. As always, if you enjoyed my video today, hit that like button. If you have not subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. I'm trying to get that number up and up and up as we get through this season. As always, if you have not checked it out, go to prospectencyclopedia.com to check out this great, amazing book, or it's a PDF this year that I've been a part of for the past 2 years. You can order the whole thing for $15. You can get your individual team PDFs for $1. I wrote the bug section. You go download that for free. Check it out, and if you want to make the full purchase, you can go ahead and do that at prospectencyclopedia.com. Other than that, I'm gonna head out so I can get this video up for you guys tonight. You can see me tomorrow night when I give out my top starts and sits for Week 4 in fantasy football. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day or night.